Hello, Dr. Swiki here, and welcome to today's lesson. In today's lesson, I'll be sharing tips and strategies to help support our elementary learners and our children with dyslexia. What is dyslexia? Dyslexia is a language-based learning disability that presents with a cluster of symptoms which may vary from person to person, typically manifesting in people having difficulties with specific language skills, particularly in reading. Learners, children, and people with dyslexia also experience difficulties and challenges with other language skills, including spelling, writing, and pronouncing words. Now, it is important to remember and to realize that the degree of challenges and difficulties that an elementary learner or a person with dyslexia faces varies from person to person, as it also depends on differences in brain development, as well as differences in teaching and instructional styles, and differences in the kinds of support that a person with dyslexia receives. To provide the right support and assistance to our elementary learner and children with dyslexia, it is necessary and important to correctly and accurately identify the symptoms of dyslexia prior to providing support and assistance. It is also important to realize that the earlier a child or an elementary learner is evaluated and diagnosed as having dyslexia, the quicker and faster and easier it is to provide the appropriate instructional tips, strategies, support, and accommodations beneficial and necessary to the growth of our elementary learner with dyslexia. I'll be sharing 6 tips and strategies to help provide instructional support. Tip number 1. Providing enough and ample time. Supporting and teaching children, especially elementary learners with dyslexia, may present with challenges. It is necessary to realize that and provide them with ample time and additional time to both attempt and complete assigned tasks, activities, and requirements. For example, if the requirement for a task is 10 minutes, our elementary learner with dyslexia might be provided an additional 5 to 7 minutes to complete the task. Tip number 2, chunking tasks and assignments into small increments of work. It is important to realize that elementary learners with dyslexia will feel overwhelmed when presented with an overload of tasks and assignments. So to prevent this, task can be broken up into small chunks, can be split into sections with specific time provided to complete each section prior to moving on to another section and moving on to the next section, and also being specific in work requirements. So for example, if there are 10 problems to solve, the problems can be broken up into components of either 5 at a time or 3 at a time. Our elementary learner with dyslexia can be required to complete 2 to 3 questions at a time, and then given a little break, and then required to complete maybe 2 more questions, so that the goal is that they are not overwhelmed or overburdened with the assignment. Tip number 3, clarifying or simplifying instructions and directives. To provide the right support for our learners with dyslexia, it is necessary to ensure that especially written directives are bulleted and explicit and clear. So for example, rather than presenting a paragraph of directions or multiple sentences with instructions at a time to effectively support an elementary learner with dyslexia, Using bold, highlighted, and simplified bullets as opposed to paragraphs and multiple sentences would be beneficial to a student with dyslexia. Please take a look at an example of what a clear and concise written out directive or instruction for our elementary learner with dyslexia would look like. Tip number 4, providing reading guides, supports, and scaffolds. Elementary learners with dyslexia most often struggle in reading, in all aspects of reading: decoding, reading fluency, phonological awareness, reading comprehension, and sometimes in writing. Using the right tools, especially in reading, would provide them with the right support. For example, to help with decoding, tactile tools, manipulatives, and visual aids can be used to provide the support needed to decode words and sentences. To help in reading fluency, reading guides in the form of highlighted sentences or highlighted sections and pages that are bold, with bold text, highlighted either line by line, paragraph by paragraph, page by page, or section by section, depending on the reading level of our elementary learner. Providing the use of clear, task-aligned graphic organizers to help to scaffold and clearly provide the key information and enable a struggling learner and elementary learner clearly see the relationships between the concepts and presented information. Tip number 5, using mnemonic instruction or tools. Mnemonic tools are memory aiding devices and tools that help learners recall and remember larger pieces of information. A mnemonic tool could be words, poems, rhymes, acronyms, to especially help our elementary learner with dyslexia remember concepts and information. For example, the use of the PEMDAS mnemonic is a great way to help our elementary learner with dyslexia to both memorize and remember the order of math operations, especially in solving math problems. Tip number 6, using assistive technology. Assistive technology is as helpful as it sounds. Technology that can be used to assist and help our elementary learner with dyslexia. These assistive tools and technology include the use of tablets, using dictionaries, using customized spellers, using text-to-speech apps and programs, and using audio or electronic read-aloud books and text. Again, the degree of challenges and the level of difficulties that our elementary learner with dyslexia or children or learners with dyslexia faces varies from person to person due to both genetic and inherited differences in brain development, as well as differences in the support provided and available to them. It is important to remember the best way to support our elementary learner with dyslexia is through early evaluation and intervention, collaboration with all stakeholders and caregivers to our elementary learner, and the use of the right toolkit and ample information that's available to support our elementary learner with dyslexia. To help us, I have provided a list of these tips and strategies. Please visit my website to download your copy of these tips. Thank you for learning with Dr. Sweke today. See you in the next lesson.